Hello everyone, boys and girls. It is a pleasure to be able to, use this video to give you a tutorial lesson. And I hope you have been doing fine during this school suspension period. Well, this video serves to give you a better understanding of the reading passage from HKDSE 2013, Paper 1, Part A, and the title of the passage goes Terra-Cotta Warriors in Color. Yeah, and I hope you are listening clearly to this clip, and it hopes to give you a better understanding, as I said, of the whole reading passage, and it also serves to explain some of those answers which are more difficult and challenging to most students. And I hope also through this clip to give you some skills, techniques or tips how to tackle some of those question types. Alright, and I'm pretty sure, and I assume that you have already go through the answer. You have already checked your answers, but still there are a number of questions that bother you. And so, as you see on the left hand side of this screen, you find the answer paper, and on the right you find the reading passage. I'll do some marking while we are going through the passage. And on the left hand side you will also find those question numbers that are marked with a yellow or red, and let me explain the meaning of these markings before I really delve into these questions. The yellow ones are those questions that are more challenging to some of those students. The correct percentage, the correct rate of these yellow ones are between 30 to 60% of all the candidates who took this paper that year. In other words, 1/3 of the candidates found it quite hard. So those are the yellow ones. Now for those that are marked red, those are the most challenging questions, and almost 2/3 of the candidates that year found it very challenging. In other words, less than 1/3 of less than 30% of those candidates got the correct answer. And the little number in the brackets here, for example, for question 2, 17, meaning only 17% of the candidates got it correct, and that's why I marked it red. So when I'm going through this paper together with you today, I will spend more time on the yellow and the red ones, while skipping those that are answered correctly by most of the students. Like here you've got 70% who got this right, so I assume that most of you got it right too, and then therefore I may not be spending too much time there. So that is the background, and if you're ready, let's start with the passage. Terra-Cotta Warriors in Color. And the picture there gives you a pretty clear idea about what this Terra-Cotta Warriors means. So let's get into question 1, the tone of the writer in paragraph 1. So if you go into paragraph 1, you see it was a dazzling spectacle. Dazzling spectacle is something quite amazing. And if you go through the 4 suggestions here, probably is excited. The author is excited by the subject matter here, mainly due to these words, the dazzling spectacle of the life-size army, of course. There's nothing too humorous here, and the writer is not being critical, cautious, being very careful with the subject matter. Not really. So from these words, Dazzling Spectacle, we know that the writer was excited. Therefore, the answer should go to B. The keywords are there. Number 2, which is a very difficult question because only 17% of the candidates got it correct. The question is, what is special about the earthen pit? Now, the pit, a pit is a hole deep underground. And what is so special about the earthen pit? And we should refer to line 6 here. And these are the words, the target words are here, the earthen pit. So let's do some reading together, because it's very difficult. Maybe smart of us if we go through the paragraph first together. In an earthen pit in central China, under what used to be the village's persimmon orchard, 3 middle-aged women are hunched over an ancient jigsaw puzzle. In the garden, orchard. So if you have no idea what an orchard is, if you Google it, look at the images there. This is an orchard where, you know, trees are planted with fruits. Yeah. So this is an orchard in an earthen pit under what used to be the village's persimmon orchard. Some time ago it was an orchard, but now it's something different, something else, which is an earthen pit here. The 3 women are hunched over this ancient jigsaw puzzle. What is so special about this earthen pit is that there is an ancient jigsaw puzzle. What is that? If you go on with the paragraph, you will find this Yang, a 57-year-old lady, turns over jagged piece in her calloused hands and fits it into the perfect spot. And while the other women laugh, blah blah blah, what Yang and her friends, the 3 middle-aged women, are doing, in fact, is piecing together. So we find this again, piecing together jigsaw puzzle. So what is this jigsaw puzzle all about? What were they piecing together? It is the answer, the more than 2,000-year-old mystery of the Terra-Cotta army. The Terra-Cotta army, the picture that you can see above, part of the celebrated burial complex of China's first emperor. Okay, so if you read till the end of the paragraph, you will find that what is so special about this pit, this earthen pit, is that it's a kind of a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. And it's not an ordinary kind of jigsaw puzzle, but instead it's closely related to ancient history, some 2,000 years ago. And it is in fact a burial complex. Is an area, is a spot where the dead body of the China's first emperor was laid, was buried, in other words. So if you bring these words together, you find the answer to this question. What is so special about this pit, this hole? And if you go back to the answer, yes, that's right. It is the emperor's tomb. And of course, if you know the word tomb, you put down the word tomb because you know that it's a tomb. A tomb is where a dead body is buried. But even if you don't know the word tomb, you know the burial complex. You can simply borrow these words into your answer here. Alright, so it's the burial complex of the first emperor, the China's first emperor. Or you may say it is a 2,200-year-old mystery. Yeah, so when you read this paragraph over here, paragraph 2, here are the keywords that bring you to the answer to question 2. Feel better now? More confident? Now let's move on to question 3. What about the Asian jigsaw puzzle? Well, as we said and as we have seen there, those are the pieces that are put together and the pieces belong to the 2,200-year-old mystery, which you know, is closely related to the burial site, the tomb of the China's first emperor. And so to answer this question, you have to explain what those puzzle pieces are. What are they, the pieces that are put together by the three ladies? And well, if you look at the answer here, those are the pieces of the Terra-Cotta army. Yeah? And you find the key words here, of course, the Terra-Cotta army, the pieces that are put together, and these pieces belong to the Terra-Cotta army, and that belonged to the China's first emperor. So to explain puzzle, you have to mention the pieces or the fragments, which is another word for pieces, or even if you don't know the word, you can simply use your own wording, which in this case you may use the word the broken emperors. Sorry, I mean the broken warriors, or the broken pieces from the army that belong to the Terra-Cotta army. Yeah. So and as you see, another possible answer is putting together pieces of the Terra-Cotta warriors. And the important thing is that you have to mention the pieces or the fragments, because the question is asking about the puzzle. Puzzle is the whole picture, and then that picture, the whole picture is actually made up of many different pieces, and therefore the keyword is there. And as you see, only 9% of the candidates got it right, meaning that most of the candidates failed to get the right understanding, and most of the candidates also failed to get the right word, the key word right here. Alright, let's go down a little bit. Question 4, well, I think we can skip it. The task, that is to rebuild, to repair, to transform the fragments back to a full-size warrior, or to reassemble, to put them together again. So the answer comes from paragraph 3. Number 5, according to P3, paragraph 3, what were the farmers doing when they first discovered the Terra-Cotta warriors? So let's look at the farmers in paragraph 3. The first smart thing that you want to do is to locate the word farmers, and there you go. So we may want to start from here, this sentence, Yang. And if you remember Yang, here is Yang, and here is Yang, the 50-year-old lady, who's, she seemed to be doing some research work in the site, but we don't know until we read further on into the passage. But anyway, let's go back to line 24. Line 24. Yang has been solving the puzzles since 1974, when farmers from her village of Xiyang first unearthed pottery and a sculpted head while digging a well for their orchard. Orchard? Yes, this is an orchard. So while they were digging a well for their orchard, they unearthed pottery and a sculpted head. They discovered pottery and a sculpted head. In other words, they found some ancient items beneath the surface of their orchard. So from line 24 till this line 27, we know what they were doing when they first discovered, and that's the answer, digging a well. And you see the word well is highlighted here, and therefore it has to be there. It's a key word, a well, digging a well. A well is a place where the water is stored, especially in the ancient days when, you know, people didn't have a water tap, they didn't even have a washroom or toilet, they had to go to a well to fetch water for themselves, for their daily life, to sustain the daily life, I mean. So that's for question 5. Question 6. The 3 women in the Persimmon orchard are the same age. Well, we don't know. We only are given the age of the first lady Yang, so it's not given. Well, number 2, the burial complex remains a mystery. Of course, it's still a mystery. The 2,200-year-old mystery is still there. In fact, it is a mystery. Yesterday and also today. So it's true, remains a mystery. It's still a mystery. 6.3. It usually takes a few hours to piece together a complete terracotta warrior. Unfortunately, is a no. It's a false, because it takes quite a lot of time. It takes a lot of time for them to do this job, and it takes years. And as you see, line 21 is many days. It usually takes them many days to transform a heap of clay fragments into a full-size warrior. So 6.3 falls. 6.4 unfortunately was cancelled by the exam authority due to some technical problem, and so forget about it. Now, this type of true, false, not given questions can be quite troubling for some candidates, for some of you, and especially for the false, not given. Now, if we go back to 6.1, the reason why it's not false, it's not given, is that, well, because we are not given the age of the other 2 ladies. We only know that Yang is aged 57. Yeah, and so we can't really tell. There's no such information from the passage, so it's not false, it's not given. And if you compare 6.1 to 6.3, which is a false statement, because, well, does it take a few hours? No, because it states very clearly that it takes many days. You see a completely different answer here, and therefore it's not given. Instead, it should be a false statement. Right? Everyone okay? Question 7. Which of the following is not true about the clay head? Line 29. Again, being a smart student, it would be nice of you, it would be nice if you can do some highlighting here and there while you are completing the paper to help you locate the keywords. So you see, this is what I do, although I know that I'm doing it in a quite messy way. Anyway, 7. Which is not true about the clay head? Is it the head of a terracotta warrior? Well, of course. Yes, of course. That's the thing. The very first thing we know, that the head belongs to the terracotta warriors. The tomb is taken from the tomb. Yeah. So it's a tick for A. Is it wrapped in plastic? Well, let's see. Do we find the word plastic? Yes. Examines a clay head sheathed, hidden, protected in protective plastic. So B, yes. If we look at D, the red and pink colors are very bright. Are they bright? Are there such colors, red and pink? If you scan through the area very quickly, you find red and pink here. And if you start from this sentence again, visible through the wrap are flashes of pink and red, brilliant hues, brilliant colors, brilliant shades that hint at the original glory of the terracotta warriors. We don't see the word very bright, but we do see the word brilliant. Yeah. So we can immediately tell that the colors are bright, although the word bright is not shown here. So the answer shouldn't be D, and it is not A or B, and it should be C. It has lost all its original glory, which is very wrong, because quite on the contrary, it is stated here that the glory is still there, that hint at the original glory because of the colors, and the colors still show such glory of the terracotta warriors. Everybody's doing fine, yeah? Alright, so if you want, you can take a short break here. You can pause the video a little bit and get a sip of water, and we'll come back again very soon. So, hello, it's me again, and now we are up to question 8 on paragraph 4. Find a word in paragraph 4 that means not colorful. The monochrome figures. Figures here mean, you know, these guys over here. The people like figures, yeah, the items, the statues, yeah, these are the figures. So it's an adjective that describes the figures, and the first thing you need to know is what does it mean by mono? Well, very usually we find words that start with mono, monotone, monochrome, monopoly, yeah. And because, you know, the prefix mono very often means single, one. So take a quick look at the search results here, and you find these implies one, single, or alone, yeah. So whenever you see this, you know that it means one, but one word, one word. And if you try to move on to the sentence, I know that it can be a difficult word to quite some students, and you need a lot of guesswork. But how can you guess the meaning of the word? Because you want to make sure that it is a word that means not colorful. So what can you do? You just read on. The monochrome figures that visitors see today actually began as a multicolored fantasy. Now the interesting bit is that you have another word that is related to color that is used to describe the colors of a certain item, and here is a multicolored fantasy. You find a faint relationship between this word and that word. On one hand, you find these monochrome figures, and on the other hand, the multicolored fantasy. So, with that observation, you can be pretty sure that the word monochrome is actually the opposite to the word multicolored, which is not colorful. And this is how you can get to the answer. Monochrome is a word that means not colorful, which is the opposite to multicolored, yeah. So you can be one of the other 63% who got it right, instead of, you know, I mean, one of the 37% of the candidates who got it right. If you have that kind of skill to read on, alright, you spot a word that you don't know, you try to recall what it means by mono. Sorry for the poor highlighting, but you know, mono, one, single, like monopoly, monotone, yeah. And with that clue, with that hint, and with this hint, you can almost be sure that this is the answer, even though you don't know the word monochrome. Number 9, a very, very difficult question. Only 11% of the candidates got it right. Now, what's this question all about? What does Qin Shi Huangdi packed a lot into his earthly ring tell us about the first emperor? What does this quote, what does this line tell us about the first emperor? Well, we have to go to line 38 to 39. 38, 39. The quote is right here, so let me just highlight it for you. There you go. Qin Shi Huangdi packed a lot into his earthly ring, but we want to know what this sentence is telling us about the first emperor. In that case, we have to begin from here. So let's read. The first emperor to unify, to put together, to make it one, to unify China under a single dynasty, Qin Shi Huangdi, packed a lot into his earthly ring from a certain time to a certain time. We don't know much yet, but let's move on. Aside from building the first links of the Great Wall, the tyrannical reformer standardized the writing system. He also standardized currency. He also standardized measurements, and he also provided the source for the English word we now use for China. Qing is pronounced Qin, yeah. So, going back to this question, what does the line tell us about the first emperor? One thing you need to know, well, of course, people who have a broader vocabulary always have an advantage, like the word ring. Ring meaning rule, to control, to ring. Another word that may help you understand better is earthly. I'm sorry if that seemed to be blocking the spelling of the word. Earthly, earth, the ground, the world, in opposite to heavenly, up above, your eternal life, heavenly, not belonging to this world. So they are two different concepts. So once again, earthly meaning worldly, in opposite to heavenly, or spiritual. So they are two completely different concepts. Earthly is our keyword here, earthly, in opposite to. So in other words, while the emperor was still alive, with his rule during his lifetime, he packed a lot into this life, into this rule. Pack a lot of what? Well, just now we tried to cover these things. The tyrannical reformer standardized the nation's writing system, the currency, the measurements, and also he provided the source for the English word blah blah blah. So there are different things that it did, and how do you call these things? Yes, one word pops up in mind. These are the achievements of the emperor. So he achieved a lot during his rule. During his lifetime, he achieved a lot. He made a lot of contributions. Sorry, I almost forgot this also. He built the first links of the Great Wall. So he did a lot. He achieved a lot. And so, if we bring all of these back to the question, what does this line tell us about the first emperor? What does it mean by packing? Packing a luggage? Packing his school bag? No, no, no. It's nothing to do with a bag or luggage, piece of luggage, but it's everything to do with his achievements, his contributions, what he did during his rule, during his lifetime. And if you have that understanding, you'll be able to come up with this answer. What does that tell you about the first emperor? It tells us that he achieved a lot during his rule, during his lifetime. He made many contributions. He did a lot to build up, to develop China, to lay a foundation for the country. He developed the country in many different ways. He achieved a lot. He accomplished a lot. That's what it means by packing a lot into his earthly ring, his life, his rule. You feel better now, feel more confident now. So I believe question 9 is the most difficult question throughout the whole paper of part A, because it requires a lot of understanding, some interpretation, and you need words that don't really come from the passage itself. You can't simply copy and paste. You can't copy the whole chunk here. You have to interpret it, understand it in your own way, and you have to summarize the key points, the essence of the paragraph in your own words. So mark number 9, and you know, if you can handle this, then you will handle that better next time. You can handle this type of question too. This type of question requires a lot of interpretation. Yeah. Well, number 10. Well, measurements, standard weight measurements. We find it here. Yeah. Some kind of weapon, I guess. So, do we see anything about weapons here? Don't think so. What is this? A coin. So, it's something to do with currency. Yeah, currency is related to money. Currency rate. So if you type currency rate, exchange rate, you know, yeah, you automatically find these things, dollars. So if you go traveling into Japan, so you need to know the current currency, get the right currency, get the right yen. So what is this? Writing system. Yes, we have writing system here, so B should be the answer. We'll skip question 11. So many candidates got it right. Question 12, line 61. Let's move down to line 61. Right there. There you go. The right dimensions, boiling an egg to show what? So this is it takes to boil an egg. So why does the writer mention about boiling an egg? Let's do it. One study. Well, it's always smart for you to locate the words, as we did here, and then go back to the beginning of the sentence. One study showed that once exposed, the lacquer underneath the paint begins to curl after 15 seconds and flick off in just 4 minutes. Vibrant pieces of history lost in the time it takes to boil an egg. So the time it takes to boil an egg probably refers to this excuse me, the 4 minutes here. The 4 minutes, all it takes to boil an egg. 4 minutes is a very short time. The time it takes to boil an egg is also very short, and in that short period of time, the key point is here. In such a short period of time, pieces of history are lost, and that's the key point. That's the key point. So if you go back to question 12, why does the writer mention boiling an egg? Because the writer wants to show how fast it is to lose these pieces of history, how fast, how quickly the paint begins to flick off, how fast it is that these pieces of history are lost. You alright? So locate, always highlight, identify the keywords, find relationship between them, and try to phrase your answers to respond to the question. That's 12. Number 13. According to P6, mud at the bottom of pit 1. So we now move forward to paragraph 6, the pit 1. Now, if I were you, I would again identify the words pit 1. So what is it about? And I start from here again, the beginning of the sentence. The mud at the bottom of pit 1. Let's see, a three-year excavation in Xi'an's most famous site, known as Pit 1, has yielded more than 100 soldiers, some still adorned, decorated with painted features including black hair, pink faces, brown eyes. The best preserved specimens were found at the bottom of the pit. Again, the pit 1, at the bottom of the pit, where a layer of mud created by flooding acted as a sort of 2,000 euro spa treatment. So let's go through A to D. The mud at the bottom of pit 1. Okay, bottom of pit 1, where a layer of mud created by flooding acted as, served as, functions as sort of spa treatment. What does it mean by spa treatment? Well, if you have been understanding rightly, you know that something is something to do with protection, preservation, protection. And if you go to choice A, you find the word protect again. The mud at the bottom is there to protect the features of the specimens, the figures found there. It serves as a protective layer. That's why spa treatment is mentioned there. It's like a layer of protection. So it's not really a 2,000-year-old spa. It's very misleading. No. Is it there to improve? No. We just simply want to keep it, preserve the layer, preserve the surface, preserve the color on the surface. Yeah, so that's 13A. 14. Who developed PEG? Line 76. Let's highlight it. PEG. Who developed it? A lot. So let's start from the beginning of the sentence again. Highlight the word, identify the keyword, and go back to the front of the sentence. Almost 30 years ago, Chinese researchers started working with experts from. So the question is asking who. So I want to pay attention to the people involved, the parties involved. So we have on one hand the Chinese researchers and also experts from the conservation's office in Germany, and they work together to develop a preservative known as PEG. So obviously two parties are involved. On one hand we have people from Germany, from the office in Germany, and on the other hand we have Chinese researchers. That's it. It's that simple. Shouldn't be 40% that low. Should be much higher. You can do that too. Question 15. What is the purpose of wrapping the artifact? Artifact is another word for specimens, the figures, the ancient items, artifact in plastic. What is the purpose? Why are they wrapping the artifact in plastic? Why? Plastic. Do we find the keyword plastic? Yeah. So it's time to exercise your scanning skill again. Plastic, where are you? There you go. There is the word plastic. So we want to know why. The purpose of wrapping it in plastic. Let's start from somewhere here again. During a recent excavation, the moment the painted artifact was discovered. I guess we saw this word previously. Workers sprayed in a bit of exposed color with the solution, then wrapped it in plastic to keep in the protective moisture. Now, if you have paid attention during your grammar lesson, you would know that the infinitive to sometimes helps us to explain the function, the purpose of a certain item. And here, this is the purpose of wrapping it in plastic. Wrapped it in plastic in order to, so as to keep the item, the artifact, the protective moisture over the artifact. Yeah? So the answer is very obvious. And if you go back to the answer there, that's the purpose. That's why it's not particularly hard to keep the moisture, right? So that's page 6, and it's time to take a short break again, and I'll see you again soon.